as soon as I started really realizing that for me to be the best that I could be and what I wanted to be was to be focused on the city.
Welcome to the Realtors Conspiracy Podcast. I'm here today with Jeannie Crawford from Hamilton, and you are a real estate agent in Hamilton.
Correct.
Yeah, so tell us about your career. You were in Toronto before, you're in Hamilton now.
Yeah, I work with Coldwell Banker Community Professionals in Hamilton. We're in the lower city in the West End. And my husband and I moved here to Hamilton from Toronto coming up on 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was not in the real estate business previous to that.
Okay.
So we did a pick up and move our lives. And I actually decided to get into the business because I felt like my experience, I had good realtors and good representatives, but I felt like I could add something to the process.
Better.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I was looking for a new passion, and I felt like at that time, that was 2010, I felt like there was a timing thing with things going on in Hamilton, that if I didn't make the change and make the attempt into the career at that time, that I might be looking back, not that far in the future, and kind of kicking myself that I didn't give it a go.
And now, 8 years later, you did amazing.
No regrets.
Yes.
No regrets, yeah.
Yeah, it's been really a great realtor curve, like in a real estate curve since 2010. But
yeah, it was, I definitely, the last few years have been crazy, and I've looked at people that started in that craziness and felt a lot of sympathy for them.
Yes.
I think there's this misperception that when things are absolutely crazy, that we as realtors are just loving it, and but it can be very frustrating to have attempt after attempt after attempt for your clients.
Yeah.
And I remember how excited I was with the first offer, the first buyer. I feel like it might have been a bit of a kick if you got that buyer, found the house, and then it was offer after offer after offer.
Yeah.
Once you've got it under your belt for a few years, it doesn't sting quite as much, but it could, I think it would be hard. So I was a pretty perfect timing. Things were busy, I was busy, but not overwhelmed.
Not overwhelming.
Yeah, so I was prepared for the madness.
Nice. Do you prefer working with buyers or sellers?
They're
both.
very different.
Yeah.
I definitely, there's this old school saying that you got a list to last. And I guess there's some truth in that. They're very, very different. I think when you start in the business, it is logical that you begin with buyers. If you're having that first meeting of, trust me to invest your money in selling your house, it can be difficult if you don't have any.
Yeah.
And then plus there's the cycle of, you help a certain number of people buy, and then in an ideal world, they're continuing to use you, so then they become sellers.
Yes.
So in a perfect world, everything kind of like evens out. I really love working with buyers. I love, it's fun, like looking at houses, whether they're good or bad, the bad ones are just as much fun.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that I have been able to build a business that I really like. Almost all of my clients.
Yes, there's always, but it's good.
Yeah.
Good energy, good to have good people around.
And I mean, the reality is my husband and I have absolutely fallen in love with the city of Hamilton.
Yes.
I'm always very upfront with people. We moved here, like many people, because the affordability.
Yeah.
We were in downtown Toronto. My condo was way too small, it was about the size of this table. And we just looked on Realtor.ca, and all these dots, popped up in the price range that we were looking at that point. And we were both ready for a change. All I requested is that it be a city as opposed to a suburb.
Yes.
That was just my own, requirement. And so we knew very, very little about the city. What I try to do with my buyers is learn from I don't like to call them mistakes because they worked out very well.
Learnings, from your learnings.
We were lucky. We were lucky that we bought in an area that was, I guess they say up and coming. Had we taken certain people's advice, we never would have bought where we bought. I'm not a big believer in you can't live north of this city or west of that street or that sort of thing. I feel like that's misguided, and there's just so much going on in the city, and plus, quite frankly, it doesn't even matter what's going on in the city. Everyone's different.
Yeah.
So I don't ever want to make assumptions about someone's where they're living or where they're gonna want to live or where they're gonna be comfortable.
Yeah.
So I try to really kind of fill in the gaps that we lucked into missing in our path. So I feel like with the buyer side, you really get to really know people and you spend so much time with them. The seller side is a little less hands-on. There's a lot of work up front, and then the buyer's agents are bringing the buyers and stuff. So, but I've been pretty lucky. Majority of my sellers have the relationships already there, so they've already been buyers.
And then one of the things that differentiate you is that you're a Hamilton ambassador. Like you said, you moved to Toronto because it was affordable.
Yeah.
But now you truly became like up there in terms of loving the city, promoting the city. Does that help in your business as a realtor?
Absolutely, like 100%. And I think it helps my clients. It helps me build my business, but it also helps me enjoy my job.
Okay.
So if I think we all can live in a city and we can live there and we can't experience it, or it's possible that you don't experience it. And because we came to the city with, not that we had low expectations, we just really didn't have any. We didn't realize there was kind of any underlying, interest. I was like, what's art crawl? Like I didn't know any of it. What's going on?
Yeah.
And it didn't happen instantly. It's not like the second we stepped into the city that, everyone was, here's a red carpet. It took work for us to go out and reach out and actually become involved in the community. So I can look back. When I look back through the history of my business, I look at my first year and I only did one transaction in Hamilton. Everything else was elsewhere because in the beginning I need to pay some bills, I need to get experience. So it's really, for me, that first year was very much more about transactions. I was very lucky with timing of family and friends who just happened to be, buying their first place. So I got my feet wet that way. And I can see in my business a transition in the connections as soon as I started really realizing that for me to be the best that I could be and what I wanted to be was to be focused on the city, because that's what we really loved. I mean, we loved our house, but it wasn't really about that. It was about the opportunities that the city brought us. Yeah. And so you can see when I look back, kind of where my business has come from and the relationships, that there's a shift. And I think it was at the beginning of maybe my third year or the end of my third year that my husband and I built my website, which at its fundamental, it's nothing, crazy or out there. We spent probably a month over a slow time, in December. My husband's previous background was IT.
Okay.
So he helped me set up a WordPress site, but the whole conversation we had was, I feel like I just want to figure out how to communicate to, not outsiders, but people that may be considering the city. Yeah. What we love about the city and how much we love it, and kind of show them our Hamilton. So we built Move to Hamont, and it's funny because it's been very, very successful in my mind in terms of it brings me all the right people. Okay. The people that read that site and get it feel very, and they tell me, we're looking through, we Googled this or that, and we found the site, and we felt like we could hear your voice and we could tell who you were through your website. If someone asked me, how many hits and what the SEO and all that sort of thing, it's probably terrible in terms of marketing. Yeah. But for me, I'm not trying to build an empire. I'm not trying to build, a crazy team. I'm trying to build a business that allows me to still have a life, but really have clients that appreciate that they are not just buying a house, that I'm trying to make them figure out, or trying to help them figure out what the city is, and that they'll really enjoy the city. With all the people that are coming from, all the focus on Toronto to Hamilton, I think when you get too focused on you're moving here just because of the price of the house, if you don't actually understand, how the two cities are different, you might be disappointed. If you're not at that point where, I'm over Toronto or over wherever it may be. It doesn't, everyone talks about Toronto, but there's plenty of people moving here for other reasons. Yeah. And that's not for everybody. There's people that are investors and they want just the numbers. Yeah. Totally cool. not my jam.
Not
like it's just, and you know,
good.
I don't need all the business.
Yeah.
I just need enough to keep me happy, to make me feel proud of what I do, to make me, help me build the relationships and really allow myself to service my clients. Like I want them to feel like I am as invested in it as they are.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do get people come and ask, you know, I was referred to you by this, by, you know, so-and-so, they said great things about you. I'm looking to do this. If it's not on my radar, it's not like, it's not, I'm choosing not to work with you. It is, I'm not the best person for you. Yeah, like what you're looking for. So I don't just say yes to everything across the board, simply because I just want to make sure that you get the best service. So if you're looking for a big, you know, commercial property, I'm not your gal.
Yeah.
But I can connect you with fantastic people who will. So I would rather do that, because I think that longevity in the business, that will serve me well.
So that would help. Like it brings integrity to your brand. Same thing that we talk about all the time with branding.
Absolutely.
And then one thing you said, your website doesn't bring you SEO and tons of traffic, but if you get the 1 or 2 leads, that's enough. You don't need to have 2,000
like
people.
10 times over.
Because
and I know that the people, I don't have a whole bunch of dead leads. I don't have, you know, but in, you know, my previous life, I worked in a sales position years and years and years ago.
Okay.
And I still remember that they'd be like, you know, you got all these leads, And I was like, but those leads are nothing. Like those leads are people that have already, you know, it was a training program. They've already been trained in what you're trying to sell them. Like, I'm not a miracle worker. I can't make someone who's, you know, a computer science graduate take another course just because you got their email address by some, you know, clickbait sort of thing. So I would say almost 100% of the people that come to me from having found the website are exactly who I'm looking for, and I'm exactly who they're looking for.
That's a success for me.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
It was probably the biggest thing the decision that I made in my career that was kind of like a game changer. Just figuring out how to formalize it, like how to not rely 100% on people's word of mouth. Like, you know, if I rely on you to pass on the word.
Referrals, yeah. What's the other one thing that made you successful that you look back and say, I'm so glad I did this?
I think honestly, like just being genuine and connecting with the community. Probably if I look back, and this has nothing to do with real estate, it has nothing to do with marketing, it just has to do with like kind of my path. When my husband opened his business, instead of doing things that were disingenuine to me, knocking on doors, or like there's some people that do that, cold calling. Like if I had to do that to be successful in this business, I would probably quit. Yeah. Because it just is not me. No judgment at all. It's just I'm not comfortable with it. So the people on the other end of the line are not going to be comfortable hearing it. So I got out into the community in different events by helping and working with my husband, and it just, you know, it just organically flowed. Like I met so many people instead of just sitting at home, you know, behind a computer or, you know, mass mailing. And it wasn't like, you know, hi, my name's Jeannie Crawford. I'm a real estate agent. Would you like to sell your house? It was develop relationships, help other people, help their businesses become successful.
Keep showing
and not a calculated decision to do that. Yeah. Like I look back at it and realize, oh, that had some incredibly positive results for me in my business, but it certainly wasn't calculated. I'm grateful for it from a business standpoint, but I'm just also grateful from how it has, you know, kind of contributed to us enjoying being, you know, Hamiltonians. Yeah. I think I'm officially a Hamiltonian.
Yeah, you are by now, you're sure. Yeah. What's the key partnerships that you've created in your business?
There's also a old school rule that you have to be really careful about who you refer, like in terms of home inspectors or lawyers. You know, you got to give them 3 or just tell them to go to Home Stars. I get it. I understand why. I definitely feel very strongly, though, that I will recommend who I've had positive experiences with. By no means do they need to, they have to use my lawyer or my whatever, but it's a confidence in knowing that they're going to be well taken care of, that the people are going to be responsive. So I've kind of got, you know, the home inspector, you know, the mortgage broker, the lawyer, that sort of thing. But the other thing I would say that personally has helped me is actually my relationships with other agents. Yeah. I think maybe it's this market as well, and I'm just not super cutthroat. But I think people in this business and sales, they feel that everything's a battle. That for someone, the end result is that someone has to lose. There can't be a winner if there's not a loser, right? And which goes against everything that real estate is about, because it's no secret that my buyer wants to buy your house. We've brought you an offer. You know,
let's
like,
just
don't
make
give
it
it away.
win-win.
You want to sell something, we want to buy something. Like it's super important to have really good relationships, especially when things are in competition. My relationship isn't going to, make up for $50,000 or $40,000, but it certainly will help if things are close. And I've seen it happen time and time again. I've been on the other side of it. We're very lucky in Hamilton that the majority of the realtors that I deal with, I enjoy. So when I run into ones that I don't, I remember them very clearly.
I've heard that many times, because when you're sitting across the table, if you had a bad experience before, then you're not going to be as nice. And same thing, it's not maybe 50,000, but if it's the same price, conditions are a little bit different, you might just be, hey, take this one. I trust this agent more than that one. So having
and I think it's important, like with those agents, they don't even have to be on the other side of the table, but if you want your clients to be well taken care of, like you still have to have a life and not be present. You can't be present all the time. So having other agents, in my office that I work with, and even quite frankly, I've called on colleagues that are not in my office because I trust them and know them to, we help cover each other if you happen to be away. It always happens as soon as you leave for vacation.
There's tons of listings and things that happen. Buyers.
Real estate waits for no one.
Yes, that's funny. What do you do for fun?
The biggest thing is my husband and I travel.
Yes.
So we don't have kids. We have dogs, and they can stay with someone else. So we made a big decision, or a mutual decision, years ago that our time off was definitely going to travel. He's definitely an entrepreneur as well. Since we've moved out here, he's had a few different businesses on the go, and he's got another one that we're working on that should be open in a few months.
Good.
Which we're excited about. But whenever we do have downtime, we take trips and
very cool.
Travel the world.
So tell us about your husband's businesses. They're restaurants in Hamilton.
So his first venture was Meat Ventures, actually, which was a food truck.
Cool.
And it's funny, we make very big decisions very quickly. When we decided to move out here, it was basically like in a flash, and then 2 weeks later we had bought a place.
Wow.
So I don't like to think about things for a really long time. If we plan a trip, I've already got the Airbnbs booked like within 24 hours of us deciding that we're going to do it, even if the trip's 6 months down the road. So when he decided to do that, he talked to me about wanting to do that. It was a very kind of easy decision that, why not? Let's try it. We do ease into things kind of carefully, like we take kind of calculated risks. So we started that part-time, and then it turned out really well. So we bought the bigger food truck, and he did that for 5 years. In the off season, he opened Poke, which is the a poke place in the farmer's market, which is like a raw fish. So kind of like, they say not to say sushi in a bowl, but it's kind of the easiest way is like sushi in a bowl. And honestly, he opened that because he didn't want to go back to his old job during the winter after the season of the food truck wrapped up. And he thought, well, it's a small little space in the farmer's market, you never know. So that's been a much bigger success than we could have ever imagined. He's got 2 locations now. And I don't think I'm allowed to say exactly what is up next, but it's very exciting.
Okay, cool.
It'll be fun for everyone. And the biggest thing, it's another food related adventure. He just sold the food truck actually. So last season was his last.
Okay.
He definitely feels like he wants to do different things all the time. So this one is a bit more permanent. It'll be a bigger kind of longer term commitment in the Barton and Sherman area, which we gave a lot of thought to that, because there was the argument of, it's more of an up and coming area as opposed to established. But I said to him, there's no glory in opening something in an already proven market. So and quite frankly, let's try and contribute positively
to a neighborhood
area. Yeah, we live right around the corner, so we live in Stipley, and it's right around the corner from the Playhouse Theatre. Yeah. That's opening hopefully in actually 2 weeks, I think, is the opening.
So all smart decisions.
Yeah.
What would you give advice? What would you tell a new realtor for advice?
I think the biggest thing is there's two things that I did that I think helped me a lot. And one of them sounds like it's thinking too far ahead, but you really have to plan your finances. So you have to figure out a system to protect yourself down the road so that you're not going to be stressed out at tax time. Yes. I've never been stressed because it's always put aside.
Smart.
So come with a system that way, because you don't want to be distracted by being worried about the finances. Yeah. And then the other thing was, at the beginning, you may or may not, like, if you don't have clients, figure out a way to keep your head in the game every single day. So in my office, I would sign up for desk time. I would sign up for open houses if other agents needed me to do open houses, so that I felt mentally that I was doing real estate, whatever it may be. And I previewed homes all the time. Yeah. Anytime I was going somewhere, I would see what listings were around, because that makes a huge, huge difference. It helps you in your confidence, but it helps you when you are working with a buyer to be able to say, this house over here, not just what it's sold for, but that you've actually been inside it and you can speak to it. Yeah. So that has come into play a lot, and I think it helps you keep your head in the game. And the other thing is, don't be afraid to tell people that this is what you do. Yeah. I always said my biggest fear I might be a little bit upset, but I'm not going to be super, super upset if someone doesn't choose me. Yeah. I'd be more upset if they came to me and said, oh man, like, I would have used you to sell my house, but I had no idea you were a real estate agent. Yeah. That would be a bigger kick in the teeth than, someone, because there's always some other relationship, or, who knows. Yeah. They don't like me, they don't have to work
there you go. At least you made the attempt to say, I'm at least a realtor.
Yeah. So, and I think people think that it is the only way to tell people that you are a realtor, or that, you're starting in this business, is to hammer it down their throat. And it doesn't have to be. No. I made a lot of mistakes when I began. Like, I did things that I feel like you're just told that you should do, that didn't feel necessarily the most genuine. Yeah. But even that's okay. Like, I mean, you can, you redo it. I always said to myself and other colleagues that were starting at the same time, like, if someone asked me for help, so if someone came to me that is my friend and said, hey, I'm starting this new business, either do you know of anyone? I'm not going to look at them and say that they are horrible people and how dare you ask me this. So if I'm not going to react that way to someone else, why do I think someone might react that way to me? Yeah. So you just have to put it put yourself in the other situation. It doesn't need to be a canned, I might react that way if it is just a canned, there's so many sales programs and coaching programs out there that tell you, what to say. Yeah. So just be genuine, but don't let it be a secret. Yeah. And everything doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah. Your business card, your logo, all this sort of thing, it can change. Like, exactly. All of these things can change. Evolves. Your headshot, you can get a new one. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to get started. Yeah. So just get started and go, and don't let it scare you. Ask the people around you for help. The other piece of advice I would give is, I thought that you had to be perfect, and it was like going to be a giveaway to the agent on the other side of the table if my paperwork was missing anything, if there was any mistake. So you put yourself under a lot of pressure. I did anyways. Yeah. And I mean, you get things all the time from people that have just forgotten something, or, so it's, like you said, it's a cooperative relationship between the two. So don't stress yourself out by thinking that you're going to be the only one who made a mistake. No. And follow the rules. Yes. Always. Real estate is really important to follow the rules. So learn what they are. You don't want to find yourself on the other side of a penalty or, things lawsuit, like that. Crazy stuff. Yeah. Yeah. The rules it's common sense for a lot of it. Yes. So don't try to get away with things.
Be genuine. You should be good.
Exactly.
Have common sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for your advice. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks for being on our podcast.